The apartment was silent until Emily screamed, clutching her son Noah tightly in the doorway. Her ex-husband Mark's face twisted with fury, veins visible as his anger boiled over. Emily said, "You've already broken us once, don't dare try again." Mark slammed the door with such force that it rattled the walls, the sound echoing into the night. Noah whimpered into his mother's chest, his small hands trembling. Emily whispered, "I promise. I'll never let him hurt you again." Outside, the faint wail of sirens crept closer, filling the air with dread. Emily stood frozen, heart pounding, feeling the weight of betrayal crushing her. She thought of every sacrifice, every sleepless night spent working and protecting Noah. The betrayal cut deeper than words, and now the shadows of her past clawed back into her fragile world. With a trembling breath, she looked into Noah's eyes and silently vowed that no matter the cost, she would fight. Tonight was the beginning of a war she never wanted, but could no longer avoid. The silence that followed the slam was heavier than the sound itself. Emily leaned her forehead against the door, breathing unevenly, her heart still racing. Noah whispered, "Is he coming back?" Emily forced a smile, whispering, "Not tonight, sweetheart, not tonight." The weight of exhaustion pressed into her bones, but her arms never loosened around him. She thought of the years she had survived alone, every night holding her son through fear and doubt. The betrayal replayed in her mind, Mark's twisted expression etched in fire. Emily straightened, brushing Noah's hair back, whispering, "We're stronger than this." The promise felt like both truth and a plea. Somewhere deep inside, she knew tonight was just the beginning of something darker. Emily carried Noah into the living room, lowering him onto the couch as though he were porcelain. His eyes stayed locked on hers, searching for answers she couldn't give. Emily whispered, "You don't need to worry, Mommy's here." The words slipped from her lips as if she was convincing herself more than him. The room was cluttered with signs of her struggle, unpaid bills stacked on the table, a cracked picture frame leaning against the wall. Every object screamed of sacrifice. Emily sat beside Noah, pulling the blanket over him, her hand stroking his hair rhythmically. Noah asked softly, "Why does Daddy hate us?" The question cut her deeper than Mark's rage ever could, and she struggled to answer, her throat tightening with grief. The sirens outside faded, replaced by the soft hum of the refrigerator. Emily sat still, listening to Noah's breathing slow into an uneasy rhythm. Her eyes drifted to the window, where the city glowed faintly beyond the glass. Emily said softly, "One day we'll be free of all this." She imagined a life where her child didn't have to live in fear, where betrayal wasn't a constant ghost in their home. The weight of the fight ahead pressed against her, but in Noah's small hand gripping hers, she found the anchor she needed. She whispered, "Sleep, my love. I'll watch over you." Tonight, Emily was both a mother and a soldier, quietly preparing for battles she could not yet name. The apartment grew darker as the night pressed on, silence draping over every corner. Emily sat alone now, Noah asleep under the blanket, his breathing steady. She rested her head back against the couch, staring at the ceiling, thoughts spiraling. Mark's rage replayed in her mind, every word seared into memory. She whispered to herself, "He won't take Noah from me, not ever." The room carried the echo of her vow, as if the walls themselves bore witness. For the first time tonight, Emily let herself cry silently, tears running freely without restraint. But in her chest, alongside the grief, burned a fire that hadn't existed before. She knew that fight was inevitable, and she would face it head-on. Morning came heavy and gray, sunlight barely filtering through thin curtains. Emily dragged herself from the couch, exhaustion etched into her face. She moved quietly, not to wake Noah, but her mind screamed with fear of what was coming. Bills piled on the counter mocked her, each envelope another weight she could not bear. She whispered to herself, "I can't lose my job now, not when he's coming after us." The kitchen felt colder than the night before, emptiness gnawing at her. Noah stirred on the couch, eyes still half closed, asking, "Are you okay, Mom?" Emily forced a smile. "Yes, baby, I'm fine." But inside, The truth was louder than her words. She was unraveling, piece by fragile piece, yet she refused to let him see her break. By late morning, Emily walked into her workplace, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Her desk was cluttered, deadlines looming, and whispers spread as coworkers glanced at her with knowing eyes. She adjusted her jacket nervously, aware of every stare. Her boss, Mr. Thompson, said curtly, "Emily, my office now." She swallowed hard, following him inside, her stomach twisting. He pointed to a stack of reports. "Your performance is slipping. I need you focused, or we'll have to reconsider your position." Emily nodded silently, fighting tears. She whispered inside, "Please, not this too." The weight of keeping everything together pressed against her chest, suffocating, yet she stood tall. Lunch hour came with little relief. Emily sat with Sarah, her closest friend at work, the only one who saw her pain. Sarah whispered, "You look like you haven't slept in days." Emily sighed. Sleep doesn't matter when everything's falling apart. Sarah reached across the table, her touch steady, but Emily noticed hesitation in her eyes. Secrets hung between them, unspoken but heavy. Emily asked, "You're not telling me something, are you?" Sarah avoided her gaze, biting her lip, then forced a smile. "No, just worried about you." The words felt hollow, echoing in Emily's mind. She wanted to believe, but doubt gnawed at her, sharpening the edges of loneliness. The afternoon stretched endlessly as Emily returned home, her mind weighed down by her boss's warning and Sarah's half-truths. She opened the apartment door to find Noah sitting on the floor with crayons, his small voice calling, "Look, I drew us." The simple picture showed him holding her hand under a bright sun. Emily knelt beside him, fighting tears, whispering, "It's beautiful." Noah smiled, "We're happy there." The innocence of his drawing cut through her despair, reminding her of why she fought. But the fear lingered. What if she couldn't hold on? What if Mark took him away? She pressed a kiss to his head, whispering silently, "I'll never let that happen." Evening came heavy with silence. Emily sat at the kitchen table, bills spread before her like a battlefield. Numbers blurred as her mind drifted to Mark's threats, her boss's cold words, Sarah's hidden truths. She clenched her fists, whispering, "I can't lose him. I won't." In the next room, Noah hummed softly to himself, the sound a fragile reminder of hope. Emily lifted her head, staring at the ceiling, as if answers might fall from above. Her heart pounded with dread, but beneath it burned a fire of resolve. She whispered again, "Firmer this time, I will fight, no matter what it takes." The promise filled the room, echoing louder than the silence. The next morning carried no rest, only heavier shadows. Emily rushed to prepare Noah for school, forcing a smile as she tied his shoes. He asked quietly, "Will Daddy be there today?" Emily's heart clenched, but she answered softly, "Not today, sweetheart." She walked him to the bus stop, clutching his hand until the very last second. As the bus pulled away, her face crumbled, hidden from his eyes. She whispered to herself, "I won't let him see your fear." The street felt colder than the night before, the city alive but indifferent to her storm. Emily turned back toward home, feeling the eyes of the world watching her every faltering step. Later that day, Emily sat in a small lawyer's office, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. Papers lay on the desk like weapons waiting to be drawn. "The lawyer, Ms. Rivera, said firmly, 'If Mark wants custody, this will be a war.'" Emily swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "I can't lose Noah." Miss Rivera leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Then you'll need proof of his instability. We must prepare for every attack." The words sank into Emily's chest, heavy as lead. She realized this battle wasn't only emotional. It was survival. The walls closed in around her as she whispered, "I'll do whatever it takes." That night, Emily called Sarah, her voice trembling with desperation. "I need you to tell me the truth," she said. Sarah hesitated before replying, "There are things about Mark I should have told you earlier." Emily's pulse quickened. Anger, and fear colliding. You knew? And you stayed silent? Sarah's voice broke. I was scared too. Silence stretched, sharp and painful, before Emily whispered, I trusted you. The betrayal deepened, twisting the knife already in her chest. She hung up, tears burning, the loneliness colder than any night before. Even her closest ally carried secrets that threatened to destroy her. The following day, Emily sat across from a stern social worker in a gray-walled office. Files stacked high around them made the air feel suffocating. The woman, Ms. Daniels, asked sharply, Can you provide a stable home environment? Emily's voice cracked. Yes, I've done everything for him. Ms. Daniels scribbled notes without looking up, her expression unreadable. Every tick of the pen was another judgment. Emily whispered under her breath, Please, believe me. The silence after her plea was heavier than any word. She realized that strangers now held power over her life and Noah's future. By evening, Emily walked home through the city streets, neon lights flickering above her. Each step echoed her exhaustion, yet her mind refused to rest. Mark's threats, Sarah's secrets, the social worker's cold questions. They swirled in her thoughts like a storm. She muttered, They won't break me. At her apartment door, she paused, hearing Noah's laughter faintly from inside. It was the only sound that kept her standing. She whispered, For him I'll keep fighting. Her hand trembled as she turned the key. The line between strength and collapse thinner than ever, but her resolve burning brighter with each passing breath. The knock at the door was unexpected, sharp against the quiet of the night. Emily froze, fear gripping her chest. She opened it cautiously, only to find a familiar face she had buried long ago. Her estranged brother, Daniel, stood there, older, worn by years apart. Emily whispered, Why are you here? Daniel replied quietly, Because you need me now. The past flooded back. Arguments, abandonment, betrayal. Her instinct screamed to slam the door, but Noah appeared behind her wide-eyed. Daniel looked at his nephew, his expression softening. Emily's heart battled between anger and longing, torn by the ghost of blood ties. Emily allowed Daniel inside, though her body remained stiff with distrust. The apartment felt smaller with his presence, the weight of unresolved years filling the air. He glanced at Noah's toys scattered across the floor, his voice low. You've done all this alone. Emily's jaw tightened, because you weren't there. Silence grew heavy, Noah's innocent eyes flicking between them. Daniel finally said, I can help, if you'll let me. Emily's mind raced. Every memory of his past mistakes screamed no, yet the desperation of her present whispered yes. The choice cut her like glass. As Noah fell asleep in the other room, Emily confronted Daniel. Her voice cracked. You left me when I needed you most. Daniel exhaled. Guilt etched across his face. I know. I was young, selfish, and scared. Emily's tears burned hot, anger battling the ache of longing. Now you think you can just walk back in? Daniel's eyes glistened, his voice breaking. I've been watching from afar, waiting for the chance to make things right. Emily turned away, heart pounding. Part of her wanted to believe, part of her wanted him gone forever. Daniel opened his duffel bag, pulling out a folder filled with documents and photos. He slid them across the table toward Emily. Mark's been hiding things, he said, voice steady. Emily hesitated, flipping through papers, financial lies, threatening messages, shadows of proof. Her hands trembled as she whispered, How did you get these? Daniel replied, Because I never stopped watching. The room spun with the weight of revelation. This evidence could change everything, but trusting Daniel meant exposing old wounds. Emily stared at him, her heart trapped between suspicion and desperate hope. The night ended with Emily sitting alone, the documents spread before her like pieces of a puzzle. Daniel slept on the couch, exhaustion etched on his face. Emily whispered into the quiet, Can I really trust you? She glanced toward Noah's room, his soft breathing a fragile reminder of why this mattered. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of control, evidence in her hands, but doubt heavy in her chest. She realized the war had grown deeper, no longer just her against Mark, but her past colliding with her present. She whispered again, "For Noah. I'll risk it all." The next afternoon, Emily met Alex outside Noah's school. He was an old friend from years past, now unexpectedly standing there, warm smile softening her burden. "Emily," Alex said gently, "it's been too long." She felt her guard rise, though his presence stirred memories of safety she hadn't known in years. Noah ran into her arms, eyes bright, and Alex crouched, greeting him warmly. Emily hesitated, torn between suspicion and relief, whispering, "Why now?" Alex's gaze lingered on hers. "Because I heard what you're going through. You don't have to fight alone." The words unsettled her, hope battling distrust in her chest. Later that evening, Emily sat across from Alex at a quiet cafe, the hum of voices surrounding them. She said cautiously, "I don't need saving." Alex nodded, his tone soft. "I'm not here to save you, just to stand beside you." Her eyes searched his face, unsure if trust was a luxury she could afford. Coffee steamed between them, the warmth contrasting the storm in her chest. Alex leaned forward. "You've always been stronger than you think." Emily's heart tightened. Strength was all she had left, but letting someone close again felt like opening a wound she had fought to keep sealed. At home, Emily sat beside Noah as he colored. He asked innocently, "Is Alex your friend?" Emily smiled faintly, brushing his hair. "Yes, an old friend." Noah's eyes lit up. "He seems nice." Her heart ached at the simplicity of his trust. She whispered, "People aren't always what they seem." Yet deep down, she felt the pull of Alex's kindness, something she had starved for. Her phone buzzed with a new message from Alex. "I'm here if you need me." Emily's hand hovered over the reply, torn between desire for connection and fear of betrayal. The next day, Emily and Alex walked together in the park while Noah played nearby. The crisp air carried the scent of autumn leaves, their crunch echoing underfoot. Emily said, "I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore." Alex replied quietly, "Then let me earn it." She looked at him, walls trembling but not yet down. For a moment, the world felt lighter, Noah's laughter rising through the air like music. Yet, in the corner of her heart, Mark's shadow loomed, poisoning even this fleeting peace. She whispered, "Every time I let someone in, I pay the price." That evening, Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling, while Noah slept peacefully beside her. The echo of Alex's words circled in her mind. Trust. Support. Companionship. They felt like promises too fragile to believe. She whispered into the darkness, "Am I strong enough to open my heart again?" Memories of betrayal clawed back, but Alex's steady gaze lingered too. Her chest rose and fell, torn between the comfort of his presence and the risk of more scars. With Noah's small hand resting on hers, Emily whispered, "I can't afford to make another mistake." The silence answered with unforgiving weight. The courthouse loomed tall and unforgiving, its cold stone walls reflecting Emily's fear. She gripped Noah's small hand before handing him to Daniel, whispering, "Stay with your uncle, I'll be right back." Inside, the air was thick with tension, voices echoing in the long hallways. Emily's heels clicked against marble as she approached the courtroom doors, her breath shallow. She whispered to herself, "This is for Noah." Mark waited inside, arms crossed, smirk sharp as a blade. The moment their eyes locked, Emily felt the weight of every sleepless night press harder. She straightened her back, determined to fight. The courtroom buzzed as lawyers shuffled papers and murmurs filled the benches. Emily sat at her table, hands clenched tight, while Mark leaned back at his, confidence dripping from every gesture. Miss Rivera whispered, "Remember, stay calm, speak only the truth." Emily nodded, though her heart pounded. The judge entered, and silence crashed down like thunder. The gavel struck, sharp and final. Emily raised her chin as Mark's lawyer began painting her as unstable, a single mother drowning in chaos. Her throat tightened, rage pressing against her silence. Still, she whispered inwardly, For Noah, I will endure. Emily took the stand, hands trembling as she swore her oath. Mark's lawyer paced before her, questions sharp as knives. Isn't it true you've struggled to pay your bills? Isn't it true you left Noah alone once while working late? Each accusation struck her like a blow. Emily's voice shook but held firm. I've sacrificed everything for my son. Love and stability don't come from money, they come from devotion. Mark's glare cut into her, but she kept her eyes steady. She whispered inside, he will not break me, not here. The courtroom watched, breathless, as her truth cracked through his lies. Daniel stepped forward, evidence folder in hand, tension electrifying the room. He spoke firmly. Mark has been hiding income, threatening Emily, and neglecting Noah. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as Miss Rivera submitted the documents. The judge's brow furrowed as he scanned the pages. Mark's composure cracked, his jaw tight, fists clenched. Emily's eyes widened. For the first time, she saw fear in him. The gavel struck again, echoing like a warning. The judge demanded silence, his voice grave. These claims will be examined fully. Emily whispered to herself, finally, the truth has a voice. The climax erupted as Mark lost control, shouting across the courtroom. She's poisoned Noah against me. His voice cracked with desperation, mask of confidence shattered. The bailiff stepped closer, ready to intervene. Emily rose slowly, her voice steady. No, Mark. You did that yourself. The room fell silent, every eye fixed on her. Her words rang with finality, her strength undeniable. Noah's image flashed in her mind, his innocence, his laughter, his need for her protection. Emily whispered inwardly, this ends now. The gavel struck one last time, the sound reverberating like thunder sealing fate. The gavel's echo still lingered when the judge delivered his verdict. Emily sat rigid, hands clasped tightly, heart thundering in her chest. The words came clear and final. Custody granted to Emily. Tears welled instantly, relief flooding her body like a breaking dam. Mark slumped back in his chair, rage masked by disbelief. Miss Rivera squeezed Emily's hand firmly, whispering, you did it. Emily looked toward Daniel, who nodded with quiet pride, and then toward the empty chair where Noah should have been. She whispered, this was for you, my love. At last, justice felt within her grasp. Outside the courthouse, the cold air struck Emily's cheeks as Noah ran into her arms. She held him so tightly, she never wanted to let go. He whispered, are we safe now, Mom? She kissed his hair, whispering, yes, sweetheart, we're safe. Daniel stood nearby, watching them with quiet relief, the tension of years softening in his eyes. For a moment, time slowed. The city noise muted, the chaos faded. Emily whispered to herself, this is all that matters. Noah's arms wrapped tighter around her neck, his laughter pure, breaking the weight of years in an instant. That evening, the apartment glowed softly with warm light. Emily sat at the kitchen table, bills still scattered, though their weight felt different now. Noah hummed as he drew nearby, colors bright and hopeful. Emily whispered, we have a chance now. She picked up one of his drawings, a family beneath a bright sun, and smiled through fresh tears. Daniel leaned in the doorway, arms crossed, voice low, you're stronger than you know. Emily nodded, whispering back, I had to be. The shadows of the past lingered, but for the first time she felt the possibility of peace. Later that night, Emily stood at Noah's bedroom door, her hand resting on the frame. He lay asleep, his breathing soft, face serene. She whispered into the quiet, you'll never have to doubt my love. The scars of betrayal, the fear of losing everything, still pressed on her heart, but watching him safe gave her strength. She closed her eyes, remembering the vow she had made in the darkest nights. She whispered again, firmer, we will be okay. Her words floated in the air like a prayer, binding her to the promise she had fought so hard to keep. The final scene was quiet, the apartment bathed in calm. Emily stood at the kitchen window, city lights glowing faintly beyond the glass. She whispered, we're stronger now, and we'll never stop fighting. A true smile spread across her face, free of the masks she had worn for so long. She turned, walking to Noah's side, settling beside him on the couch. His small hand found hers even in sleep, anchoring her. The storm was not gone, but she was no longer afraid of it. For the first time, Emily embraced not just survival but hope.